Welcome to another lecture on philosophy classes. Today we are on philosophy and society, and we'll be taking a look at Aristotle, the city, and the good life. Now, like we said earlier on the social contract theory, that talks about how the society came into existence. Uh, Various scholars contributed on how the society actually came to being, and one of the foremost of this was Aristotle in his work The City. The City was actually a work on politics, but we can actually, politics also has to do with the society, so we can actually get uh, his idea on the society from this work on his work on The City. Now, to Aristotle, he was of the view that the city is not much differed from nature. That is, the nature also contributed to the city. Now, I'm going to explain this in further, and is of the view that humans are by nature social. You know, we cannot exist independently on our own. Now, it started from a male and a female coming together to do what? To reproduce. That is one. Now, he also said there is also the slave and the master. The master who uses his intellect to rule, and then the slave who does what? Use his body to labor and work for the master. One way or the other, they are social. They needed each other. So now, like I said earlier, a male and a female come together to do what? To reproduce. That is a form of what? Interaction too. Now, when they reproduce, they become a household. And going further, we have various household. This various household come together to become what? A family. Sorry, a village. Now, going further, we have different villages. These different villages now together became a city state. Now, let me use break it down. Let me use Nigeria as an example. There is my father and like my great grandfather and my great grandmother. They came together, they gave birth, and they became an household. Then we started having extension of the families, and then various household became a village of Ojo extension. We have the Kale village, and so on and so forth. Then everybody now assume their various you know uh village, and then the village being merged together became a country like Nigeria. So that is an example of how the city actually came to being to Aristotle. Now, Aristotle is of the fact that like I said earlier, the city state is not differed from nature, because nature contributes majorly to the city, and how the nature contributed majorly to the city was through what? Giving us language, the human speech, to do what? To communicate, to interact. Like, without language, even though it is not verbal, science can be language too. How do we communicate with each other? How do we interact with each other? So nature has given us this gift of language to do what? To actually communicate with each other. So that was one of the major role how the city state was actually intertwined with nature. So moving further, we should also note that Aristotle was saying that the city state is the highest, the pinnacle of the you know it is one that has attained a state of self-sufficiency. That is, there can be no one that is actually greater than the city for the citizens. Now, how do we mean? You are a Nigerian, and Nigeria is the highest pinnacle. If you like go to America, you are still a Nigerian. If you like go elsewhere, go to Jupiter, you are still what? A Nigerian. So the city state is actually the pinnacle. And now we move into how this relates to the good life. Now, to Aristotle, the city state is, since it has attained a state of self-sufficiency, it is its major goal or purpose is to actually create an enabling environment for the citizens to flourish irrespective of their status. Now, you also understand that there are some who are going to succeed in this, while there are some that are going to fail in ensuring that everybody have an environment to flourish. And we can look at Nigeria and as an example and say that okay, is this city state actually creating an enabling environment for us all to flourish? The answer, you can answer it. And we can look at other countries too who are actually creating an enabling environment for their citizens to flourish. You know, and we shouldn't forget that the city originated from the primitive condition of the original household, from both a male and female and so on. And also too, we can say some household will actually succeed in bringing up good children, and some will fail in training their children to become people. So it is not really far from each other. But the city having attained a state of self-sufficiency is actually main purpose is to create an enabling environment for the people to do what? To succeed. Now, uh, having said that, when an enabling Aristotle is not saying that it is the city that is going to, you know, when an enabling environment is created, we can have a good life. A good life is a life of happiness. But in a city where there is no equality and everybody is striving to overcome, to be powerful over another, there will be injustice, definitely. And this is going to be one of the shortcomings of the city. Now, having said that there will be injustice, we should note that it is not the city that is going to teach us what, or impose on us how to live a virtuous life or how to be morally capable. It is our duty to make sure that we train ourselves to live a moral life. But a moral life can only be achievable in a city state that has created an enabling environment for its citizens. Now, let's think about this deeply and relate it with our immediate environment, and then we'll understand this better. Now, moving further on the good life, the good life is actually an happy life, the life of happiness, where you live. It is not a life of attaining virtue, it is a life that you live with virtue itself, doing what is good, having known what is good from what is bad. It is a life that is not that doesn't have an end. You know, is a life that doesn't have an end. Doesn't mean you will not die. No, it's like happiness is not an end that you use a means to achieve. And what do I mean by this? Growing up, you go to school to get a certificate. The certificate is an end. The means to that end is going to school. Now, when you get this certificate, you go out to get a job. This job is gotten, and why do you needed to get that job? Is for you to be able to get money to achieve other end, like maybe building an house or having a car. Those are an end. How do you achieve those ends? Is by working to do what? To get money. When you are finally get those things, you still have another thing you are aiming for. So those things are actually temporary. They are actually temporary end with temporary means. Now happiness is not one of these. It is something that when you live actually a good life of moral virtue, people will be able to say that this person lived a good life, this person lived an happy life. So that is the good life to Aristotle. So I think with my little explanation, we can always be able to speak on what the city is and what the good life is. Thank you very much for listening. Do stay tuned for other lectures. God bless you.